The last time I smoked meat in my Weber Kettle grill, one of my Facebook friends asked me if I could demonstrate the snake technique or the snake method, so I wanted to make a quick video to do that. This is the snake method right here. As you can see, I've got 2 rows of charcoal briquettes, and then on top of them I place another 2 rows of charcoal briquettes, so I've got a total of 4. And then what you'll want to do is you'll want to light the snake on one side, say here, and then as that charcoal burns, it will slowly burn along the snake until it runs out of fuel at the end. This is probably about enough of a snake to go for about 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours. You can get about 10 hours total in the Weber Kettle grill. It's important if you build it all the way around that you do not let the ends touch. You want to leave enough of a gap between the front of the snake and the back of the snake. Otherwise, you may end up lighting both ends at once, and you don't want to do that. Then it'll burn around both ways. It's also important that when you do the snake, that the pieces of wood are not touching, and that the pieces of wood are ideally only touching one row of the snake at a time. So I've got this piece touching one row, this piece is on top of another row, this piece is on top of another row, and so on. I only want enough smoke for 2 hours, so I don't follow all the way around. I only put what I think is going to burn for about 2 hours with wood on top. And the reason I do it that way is you're only penetrating the meat for about 2 hours with smoke. After that, you can put more smoke into it, but it's not going any deeper. So you're just adding more smoke to the same part of the meat. That's going to make the meat bitter rather than tasty. So you don't want to do that. You want to get smoke on it for about 2 hours. So limit the smoke on the snake to about 2 hours worth. The reason you don't want the wood to touch each other or to touch more than one piece of charcoal is that wood burns faster than charcoal. And as a consequence, if I put the snake, for example, like this piece of wood is now going to burn faster than these pieces of charcoal, and it's actually going to light the next piece of charcoal over. So if I put my pieces of wood like this, I'm going to burn much more quickly. And if I put wood so that it's touching itself like that, it's going to burn even faster. So the way to prevent that from happening is to turn it sideways and to have each piece touch as few pieces as possible. And you don't want the wood touching. That's how you would do that. The snake is only one method that you can use to control the temperature of a Weber Kettle grill. It controls it by controlling primarily the amount of fuel that can burn at once. The other technique to controlling the heat of a grill is illustrated here. This is the Minion technique. With the Minion technique, what you want to do is you want to put a base of charcoal. On a kettle, you wouldn't fill the whole thing. You try to do this on one side of the grill, but you do a base of charcoal. You kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of hollowed out here. You put wood around on the outside of it. What you would do is you would light a few charcoals in the chimney. You would pour them in the middle here, and then you would use the vents on the bottom of the grill to control the temperature of the grill. The technique with the Minion is you're using access to oxygen to control how quickly it can burn. Whereas with a snake, you're primarily using the amount of fuel that can light at a time to control the temperature of the grill. With both, you use the bottom vents in order to control the temperature of the grill. But with the snake method, you don't need to close them as much. And with the Minion method, you're going to have them maybe a quarter open, typically. You can use either one on the Weber Kettle grill. I generally use the snake on the kettle because it takes up less space at a time. As a consequence, I've got more grill surface available for cooking. I usually use the Minion on my smoker. This is my Smoky Mountain. I do that because, it's easier to set up, and I still have the full cooking surface of the smoker, so I don't have to worry about space. With the kettle, when it's burning here, I want the meat on the other side of the grill. And then as the snake burns along, what I'll do is I'll rotate the meat so that it's always opposite of the grill from where the fire is. Also, I want the wood as it burns. I want the smoke to have to go over the meat. So I want to rotate the lid so that the vent on the lid is always above the meat. That way the smoke has to pass over the meat before it can escape the grill. I don't have to worry about that after the first couple of hours once the last piece of wood is burned off. It doesn't matter then whether or not I rotate the grill lid because I'm no longer getting the wood smoke to try to penetrate the meat. So that's how you do it, the snake method and the Minion method. You can use either on the Weber Kettle. I prefer the snake. You can use a combination of those, and that's how you keep the temperature down around 225 degrees. The reason it may be a while before I use the snake method again is because I bought this device. This is called a slow and sear, and the way this works is you put it in the grill. I'd actually probably put it on the other side of the grill, but since I still have the snake set up, I'm going to do it this way. You put charcoal in here, and then the amount of charcoal that you use will determine how hot it gets. It's a slow and sear. It can do either one. You can use this for a number of different things. I would put a charcoal starter on the end. I would put charcoal in, fill it probably about a third of the way for a slow and low. And then as it gets up to temperature, I'll fill this basin on the opposite end from where it's lit. I'll fill it with boiling hot water. You want to use boiling hot water because otherwise it's going to take forever for the water to heat up, and the grill won't really get up to temperature until the water's hot. So it's going to be kind of like the snake method in that it's going to burn from where the starter is gradually over time across the surface of the slow and sear. And it's supposed to be a better technique than the snake method for keeping the temperature down so you can smoke on your Weber Kettle grill. A lot of people don't think that the Weber Kettle grill is particularly good for smoking, but it works just as well as the Smoky Mountain if you know how to do it. The only difference in quality, well, there is no difference in quality. The only real difference is that you have much less surface on the kettle grill. So I can do, maybe 3 racks of ribs if I use a holder to hold the ribs sideways. I can do maybe 1 chicken, a couple of pork butts, or I can do maybe the flat of a brisket. That's about all I can do on the Weber Kettle grill. The Smoky Mountain's got 2 22-inch racks, and I can use all 22 inches of both to cook. So I can do a much greater quantity of meat on the Smoky Mountain. But other than that, the quality on a Weber Kettle grill is just as good as the quality you're going to get from the food on the Smoky Mountain, and you can do far more on a kettle grill than you can on a smoker. So if you don't have a grill, if you want to get started in grilling with a live fire, the Weber Kettle really is the first thing to get. This particular model is the Performer series. It's got a gas starter. You don't use the gas starter really to start the charcoal so much as to start a chimney. The charcoal's in the chimney, but it's got the gas starter. It came with a timer. Comes on a table. But any Weber Kettle grill is essentially the same as far as cooking. This is a 22-inch, and any 22-inch Weber grill is going to work exactly the same as far as the actual cooking goes. So if you don't want to spend all the money for the Performer series, you can get in the Weber Kettle grill for about $109 on Amazon.com, and you can do anything with these. They're the most versatile grills on the planet. So if you want to get into live fire cooking, this is probably the way to do it. And as I said, it'll smoke as well as a Weber Smoky Mountain or another smoker. The only difference is that you don't have as much cooking surface. Okay? Thank you.